Hi, everybody, and welcome to Exegetically Speaking, a podcast of the friends and faculty of Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois, and the Lanier Theological Library in Houston, Texas. My name is David Capes, and I am the Senior Research Fellow at the Lanier Theological Library and a former dean up there in Wheaton at the School of Biblical and Theological Studies. Our purpose in these podcasts is really very simple. We want to promote the study of biblical languages, Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, so we can read the Bible more faithfully, study it more fully, and not just read it, but to live it. Joining me today on Exegetically Speaking is Dr. Jeremiah Coogan. Good to be able to say doctor here. He's a research associate in theology and a visiting scholar at the Oxford Center for Hebrew and Jewish Studies at Oxford University. Recently, he has been awarded the Paul J. Achtemeier Award for New Testament Scholarship by the Society of Biblical Literature. Good to see you, Jeremiah.
Thank you so much, David. It's good to be here.
It's good to see you again. It's been a few years.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you're at Oxford. You're in a great place to be, and I hope you're getting work now. You've already got one book coming out, and you've got another book that you're working on, but We're here today to talk about Greek. So my first question is kind of my signature question, and that is, how did you get started reading Greek? We'll focus in upon that today.
I started learning Greek when my dad was in seminary. When I was 7 years old, my dad was taking classes in seminary, taking Greek.
What seminary was it?
Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. My mom was working, and so I needed to be somewhere. And so I went to class with my dad. And not all of the Greek I learned when I was 7 and 8 stuck, but some of it actually did. And then when I went to Wheaton College as an undergrad, I continued studying Greek. And now it's a lot of what I do.
It's much of what you do, right? I mean, in terms of how you've been equipped. So at Wheaton College, you learned, did you take the master's at Wheaton College?
I was an undergrad at Wheaton.
Okay.
So I majored in ancient languages, and then in biblical studies and in German.
And you went on to finish your Ph.D. from the University of Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. Well, listen, we're glad that you're here. You're an alum of Wheaton College. You're doing great work, and we're excited to see what's happening at the end of the COVID season. We hope the end, who knows exactly. But we're going to talk today about work that you've been working on in the Gospels, right? You've been looking at the Gospels for a number of years. Your first book from Oxford University Press will deal a lot with the Gospels. But what text are we looking at today, Jeremiah?
We're looking at Luke 1, verse 1.
Luke 1:1. All right, so we're at the very beginning of the Gospel. Give us some background. What are we looking at here?
So I'll start by just reading Luke 1:1 to get us all on the same page.
Okay.
Luke writes, since many have undertaken, and that's the key word we're going to be thinking about.
Undertaken.
Since many have undertaken to set down an orderly account of the events that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed on to us by those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word, I too decided, after investigating everything carefully from the very first, to write an orderly account. And Luke keeps going. But we're interested particularly in that undertaken at the beginning of Luke 1.
All right, so that word undertaken is a particular Greek word. And do you like the way it's translated in the New Revised Standard Version?
I think it's good insofar as it leaves the options open.
Okay.
It leaves the options open for us to then think about what kind of undertaking this word is. So the Greek word is epikereo, here declined as epikeresin. And undertaking is a good translation, but it asks us to think about what kind of undertaking this might be.
Yeah. So at the heart of the word, and we noticed earlier, is the word hand, which is, the Greek word for hand is chair, and they put their hand to do this, right? That's another way of saying it. They put their hand to this.
Yeah. It sounds very King James-like. But of course, to put a hand to a job can involve different kinds of success. And this is a question that early Christian readers have when they come to thinking about what Luke is actually claiming here. Is Luke saying, insofar as many people tried and failed, I'm going to do it better? Or is he saying, insofar as other people have done this, I have my own spin to put on this? Is this attempting positive, or is it negative? Or is it mostly positive, but with a bit of an edge to it?
In other words, is he trying to correct something that he feels like is wrong in the tradition, you think?
Well, that's the question. And some early Christian readers do think that's what's going on. So a lot of my work is thinking about how we can read the New Testament better by reading it alongside other early Christian readers. Origen thinks that this is a bad thing, or that he thinks that Luke is criticizing previous gospel writers, insofar as many people attempted but didn't succeed. And so Luke is going to correct sort of failures in telling about Jesus. Luke's account is going to set people straight.
So do you think this refers to Matthew and Mark?
Right.
Maybe John? Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, I tend not to think that Luke knows John, but
Okay.
I do think that Luke knows both Matthew and Mark. And that's what I think is going on here. I don't think that Origen's reading is right, although it is really interesting. Other early Christian readers do read it like you are, David. Yeah, I think that Luke is positioning himself in conversation with other gospel books that are already out there. This is a word that we don't just see in Luke's use. It's actually pretty rare in the New Testament. We only have it here in the beginning of the Gospel of Luke and then 2 other times in Acts. But in the broader world of Greek in the first couple of centuries, we see this word used in other prefaces and descriptions of technical literature. People writing books on tactics, how to organize your military, or ballistics, how to build a catapult, will use this to talk about the work of their predecessors. And it's not always entirely negative. It can be so-and-so set the groundwork, and here I'm going to put my own spin on it. But it is often, at least in a certain sense, competitive. I can do it better. My version is going to do something that these other previous versions didn't succeed in doing.
Well, one of the things that people have often focused in upon is the fact that he talks about doing an orderly account, as if maybe he thought some of the other ones weren't ordered right, perhaps. And then in verse 4, he talks about, so that you can know the truth about the things that you've been told, which implies, it seems to me, that there's at least some, and this may not be Matthew or Mark, it may be other accounts that we don't know of, I suppose, that there are some things out there that are being said that just aren't right.
Right? No, that's true. And of course, we know one of the complaints that many early Christian readers have about Mark is that Mark isn't exactly orderly. Mark has Markan sandwiches, we might call them, or intercalation, where Mark tells things in order, and you scratch your head and wonder, well, why did Mark put it in that order?
Exactly.
At least some early Christian readers wondered about this. And so it's at least possible that Luke is saying, I put my facts in order. Mark did it his own way, that's fine, but I put it all in order the right way.
Well, Galatians 2 talks about a bit of a competition between Peter and Paul. And yes, I wonder if there is a bit of competition going on between the gospel writers at this point, but to which we are all beneficiaries, right? In the end of the day, because we have a fourfold gospel.
We do, yeah. No, and of course, this text becomes one of the key anchor points for early Christians who are trying to think about what it means to read 4 individual gospels as part of a larger whole. That even the gospel authors themselves know that they're writing into a broader landscape of gospel books.
Yeah. This is fascinating stuff. We look forward to reading more about what you're doing. Thanks for being with us today, Dr. Jeremiah Coogan, on Exegetically Speaking.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I really appreciate it.
Thanks to Ian Rosine, Rebecca Larson, and Silvio Vasquez, who helped us produce this podcast. Thanks as well to John Alonzma, our Wheaton-based director, who makes this podcast possible. We're grateful to Phil Keggy for our music. If you want to study biblical languages, then you need to consider Wheaton College. Whether you're an undergraduate or a graduate student, we have amazing programs, a first-rate faculty, and some of the best students in the world. So go to the website, www.wheaton.edu, and look for modern and classical languages. Get started today. If you have questions about this or any of our podcasts, we'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions or questions about any passage in the Hebrew Bible or Greek New Testament, send us an email and we'll see if we can get one of our experts to weigh in on that for you. Our email is exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. That's exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. Thanks for listening.